Hi, I'm Corey. Welcome to Creating with Scraps. This is the sewing in of the inserts on the file folder journal, and my deepest apologies. I had said that I would share how I did it, and I had pushed record, and when I moved my sewing machine, I had turned it off and hadn't realized it. So I have started sewing the signatures in, and then when I realized what I'd done, I've stopped. So I still have a couple signatures to do. In the previous section that you didn't see, I showed how I sewed in the different inserts that I made, the 4 different inserts, the 2 one-sheet wonders, and then the 2 different style pocket pieces, pocket inserts. And then I also showed how I selected the pieces. Now, many people, when they make a signature for those who are new is just the pages that you put together to put inside your journal. And a signature is each insert, essentially. Now, many people will put 6, 12, 15 pages in a signature because they use thinner paper and because they don't maybe make things as fat as I do. I tend to use more signatures than many, and I make them with fewer pages each because my pages are so fat. Just personal preference, they both work. I also tend to use my sewing machine to sew my signatures in, but the same exact principles apply if you're using a 5-hole pamphlet stitch or another style. So just to walk through what I had done, I had used a combination of cardstock and thicker papers and thinner papers to make my signatures. And these signatures have anywhere from 3 to 4 pages. And 3 to 4 pages in a signature means 12 to 16 places to work or sides to work on. So because I make mine fat, that's plenty to choose from. So I apologize for that, for not being able to share that piece, but I will show you what I do from here on out. There's only 2 more signatures to put in. Because of the inserts, I sewed the inserts in first, and then I'm sewing my signatures in after that. On the previous video, if you're following along, I had shown how I use this insert piece to go inside my journal and how I drew the lines with a heat-sensitive marking pen. And then I've just used, I have a Singer stylus that I bought on Amazon. It's not a spendy machine. I purchased it because it's got finger buttons rather than foot pedals. I mean, you can do a foot pedal too, but I like being able to control it with my fingers, the start and stops. That's why I selected this model. Plus it has some really cool stitches, and it's small and it's lightweight, and it does everything I need. Now my depth here is very shallow, but I do have a very large machine. So if I'm working in a bigger journal, I can use that and it's no problem because the depth on this, I think, goes to about 5 inches. So, but I've got one that's got 12 inches depth. But honestly, 99% of the time I use this one and it's plenty for me. I do tend to make smaller journals, I mean shorter size journals, so maybe that's why it works well. All right, in any event, my next signature that's going in, when I'm using a variety of papers, I try to use 1 or 2 thick pieces at most, and then the rest fairly thin. I kind of balance it out, and I generally try to vary the sizes. Not always, just depending on the type of journal that I'm making. And then once I've got the pieces inside, I make sure I push them down in the center where the fold is. I make sure that's pushed pretty tight. And then I will often use low tack tape to hold my pages together, just to make sure they don't wiggle when I clip them in. I haven't had a problem with them tearing, but if I were using really old or really fine paper, I would be a little bit more careful about putting the tape on them, the edges. So I'll tape the pages together so they don't wiggle when I'm putting them into my signature. And then you notice that this doesn't have a cover on it yet because this is just my spine insert. It won't make sense if you hadn't been following along, but you can see there's 2 other videos in this group that talk about the file folder journal. And then I'm going to double check to make sure that I'm not putting my pages in upside down because I've done that before. And then I use the lines on my grid that I've created to line up my pages to make sure that they're straight. And I will put the center of my signature along the center of that line, and then that way I know my pages are in mostly straight. They don't have to be absolutely perfect, but I do want them kind of close. Right, And I don't know how well you can see the lines there. And then once I've got it in place, I use binder clips as a general rule, but you can use quilting clips, you can use paper clips. These just tend to hold it nice and snug, and I do not want it to move when I'm sewing it in. Now this next step, I'm going to use my machine, but you can use your pamphlet stitch. I could poke them straight in and sew it in that way as well. Simply because I'm working to the edge, I'm turning it around. You know, I started over on this side and sewing it in here, but as it's moving outward, it's getting thicker and thicker, so it's just as easy to flip it around this way. And then I am going to line it up and sew it in. And I've got it on a slower stitch, and I'll do a little bit of a back stitch. I've got my stitch speed slow because it allows me a little more control, so I can feed it. I'm hoping you can see this. So you can see me feed it into the machine. And it's just, that's, and I'll snip these stitches. You can see here it got a little thicker, and it does that sometimes because I've got, you know, several pages in this book already, but it still sews no problem. I suppose if I were sewing 15 pages in, it might not work quite as well. And then I'll take the tape off. Like I said, oh, there you, yeah, I don't know if you can see it. A little bit, tiny bit of paper tore off there because this is very old, but I didn't have any tear there. You can see, I think you can see. Okay, this is just rather, and the other side's cardstock, so, or Braille paper. This side that I peeled it off is Braille paper, so that definitely didn't tear. And again, I'll just be a little bit more careful peeling this off so I don't tear any of the paper. Same idea on this side. Well, tried to get it in frame for you, makes it a little funky. Okay, there we go. Okay, so you can see I tore a little bit there. Again, this is really old paper, and if needed, I will put a bit of faux cello on that, or I don't know how I'm going to decorate it yet, so I'm certainly not concerned about that little itty bit of paper. All right, so I've got that signature in now. So I've got 4 of my 5 signatures plus all 4 of my inserts. So you can see it's already starting to get a little chubby. Well, maybe you can see it's already starting to get a little chubby. I mean, I haven't decorated any of the pages yet. So I'm being mindful of that as well. Let's see if I can move this back just a smidge more. And then I'm going to put that last, the 5th insert in, and then I'll show it to you really quickly. Okay, and here's the last one. I'm going to open it up, line it up, make sure it's mostly straight. Doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use this low-tack tape to hold this in place. Again, if I'm using really old paper, what I could do is put a scrap or something on here so that it won't tear. But this is I guess it is kind of old, so it could conceivably tear, but we'll see. All right, so I've got my signature center sewn straight, lined up. I make sure I push them down into each other so that the seams are nice and snug. And then I'm going to line it up on this line, again wanting to make sure that my pages are right side up and that my book is right side up, because I have sewn signatures in upside down before, and it's not fun to take them out. It's not hard, but it's just not fun to take them out and redo them. So I'm using the grid to line this up. I want equidistant top and bottom-ish. And then I will clamp those in place. And that's one of the reasons that I keep this amount of overlap after the spine, because it allows me to clamp and get the clamp far enough away to hold the paper in place, but close enough that it doesn't, or close enough that it holds the pages in place, but far enough away that it doesn't get in the way of the needle on my machine. And again, double checking, this is right side up, okay. And then I'm going to do this last, oh man, I pulled out my thread. Now there's a way to thread it with this thing, but I don't know how to do it. I worked on my computer today. I was finishing report cards, and my eyes are really fuzzy, so I'm not seeing super great right now. Too much computer time. Okay, let's hope I can do this. Normally it goes right in, but because I'm on camera, it probably won't. There we go. Okay. There's a way to do it. This is a needle threader. This little Who's You What's It right here. You can thread your needles, and it does it for you. But there we go. Okay, good. It's in. And yep, it's still straight, mostly straight. It moved a little bit, so I'm going to unclip it and change it just a smidge. It does not have to be perfect by any means, but I do want it mostly straight. Okay, and now, it doesn't matter. I'm going to sew it in this way. So when you get to the last signature, it gets a little thicker and it gets a little harder because of all the weight over here, but it'll still work just fine. I just have to be more mindful about guiding it. And I'm hoping you can see that, guiding the stitches through. But again, a pamphlet stitch works as well. Okay. And I will cut that off. Okay, and now I'm going to turn my machine off because I don't need it and move it over to the side. Okay, now this should make it a little bit easier to see what we've got going on here. And I'll take these pieces off. And I use the same pieces several times as a general rule. You can see it's already lifting up here, but it didn't matter so much because I just wanted it to hold it in place. Okay, there we go. And the last one. I had mentioned, I think in the previous part that I didn't actually film, that I thought I was filming, that that a lot of times when I'm collecting or putting my signatures in, I don't, I'll trim them height-wise because of the way we sew them in, but I don't necessarily trim them width-wise, so that when I'm deciding how I want to decorate the pages, it gives me some options. Okay, so here is our completed insert. And this part is one of the things I really wanted to show you. Okay, so here are my pages in my journal. They're right side up because I prefer them right side up. These are the pieces that I get to decorate and work with. And this is the first signature. And then here is my first one, Sheet Wonder. And then my second signature. And the second insert, this is the bag one with the two pockets on the side, the pocket on the top, and then pockets here and here. So that's a 5-piece. And looks like I need to trim that. Okay, and here's my third signature. This is the one we put the cardstock piece down to make this old German book page a little sturdier. And so you can see I only have 3 pages in this one, which is absolutely fine. And then the second one, Sheet Wonder, and then my fourth signature. And I tried to put ledger in each of these. And then this, I used well, I'll show you how I did it. I had shown in the previous video, but I took 2 pieces of really thin school writing paper and then cut them down and laid them over each other because they're super thin. And then I'll just glue the top and the bottom here, and on this side, the top and the bottom here. What I essentially did was this. I'll just take 2 other pieces. Took 2 pieces the same size. Let's see if I can do this. 2 pieces, well, these aren't the same size, but let's see if I can show you. And then I just kind of laid them kind of over each other like this so that they would have tuck spots. That's essentially what I did. But I did it this way with one longer on one side and one longer on the other side. So like this one would be shorter here, and this one would be shorter on this piece. So they were the same size. So this one would be shorter like this, and then this one would be shorter like this. That's what these are. If that makes sense. I hope it does. I've done it before in previous videos, so it's not new. And then let's see, that was signature number 4. And all of them have a different kind of ledger. And here's the double pocket vellum coin pocket thing, and then here's the last signature. And I think I said it in the previous video, this is really old book page, and what I did, because it's super fine and super fragile, I put three of them together and just glued them and then sewed them around so that I could still include it. A piece of vellum, not book page, this is music paper, and I had just doubled it up to make a pocket, and then ledger paper, and then that's it. So those are all of the completed signatures sewn in. Here is where your style or your preference in assembling your journal comes together. So I've got pieces that I can use for the decoration. Oh my goodness, that's nasty. There we go, sorry. Some people, and myself included, will take this piece and put my journal together at this point. So this is my signature insert. This is the base with the cardstock on it to make it sturdier. Somebody asked why I didn't put Tyvek around these edges, because the edges are fragile, because the edges aren't going to be pulled on. It's going to sit inside this and be covered. This is the area when you're turning the pages that I wanted to make sure was secure. You certainly could put Tyvek or wrap around it, but it's not necessary because there's not going to be any pull on these, and because it's going to be glued in and it's got an extra layer of protection where it's glued in. So I didn't need the extra support that more Tyvek would have provided. So I can glue it in now, right, into my base, and I can put the cover on, right? So I would glue this in, and then the front cover and inside page, that's the file folder part, right? It folds over and sits on top like this. And then the back, maybe I have to actually get it in there. We can get that in there. And then here's the back. It's the same idea, back cover. And inside, that's the file folder piece, and it goes in like this. And my journal is, and then here's my spine cover, and I tuck that in here, and I can glue the whole thing together and then decorate my pages. That is one option, just glue everything together and then decorate my pages. And I may very well do that. But you can also decorate your pages now, right, before you put any of the covers or pieces on. Or you can even just glue it into your base if you want to. Decorate all your pages and then assemble it. I honestly don't know if there's one way better than the other. Part of me feels like the stability of the cover and knowing how deep it is makes it a little easier to decide how much decoration to put on each page, or how many. I say decoration, but I mean most of my things are functional so that I can tuck things into a pocket or pull out writing pieces or journaling spots or what have you. But I can also gauge how thick to make my pages and how much embellishment, how many things to put on. So part of me likes to do it this way. I've got it all together, assemble, and then decorate because it's ready to go. But I can also see it making sense if I want to sew anything. Like let's say I wanted to sew a lace pocket, or if I wanted to fold this back and sew it. It's a whole lot easier to do that when you don't have the cover on it. Because like right now, I could very easily, you know, if I wanted to make this a fold over kind of a tuck or a notepad or something, and if I needed to sew anything, or if I wanted to sew a piece of lace on it, great example. I want a lace edge for my first one. Well, then I can sew a piece of lace right down it, and it's still floppy and flimsy, and I can just sew a piece of lace. So in many regards, it's easier to decorate your pages before they go into your cover, but some people prefer the cover going on next so that you have an idea. That's personal preference, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. All right, I will come back and show you, well, I guess I can do this part now and give you an idea of what it'll look like, right? So I would glue this in here, and this is, I believe, the back cover. Here's the back cover. I'd put this piece on. My next step, if I'm doing this before I decorate the pages, is I put glue all along here, and all along here, and I put it in my base. I glue it in my base, and then I wait until it's dry. I give it a good long time to dry. And a lot of times I'll use Collage Medium on that just because it's a really sturdy glue. It does take a little bit longer to dry, but I'll clamp it and it'll dry beautifully. Then I would put on the back cover and glue that in place. Collage medium, again, I like it just because it dries really well. Some people prefer Fabri-Tac or that type of glue, you know, whatever you like, really. I've had good luck with the stability with collage medium. And then there's my front cover. So I could do all of these pieces now, glue it in place, let it dry, and then my final piece would be my spine cover, and I'm going to tuck that in to make a tuck spot. I won't glue down those edges. And then that is my journal. And again, these pages will be folded or torn or cut to length, but I wanted to have that option once I've decided how I'm going to decorate them. Oh, and I haven't glued on the moth yet. I am going to glue the moth onto there. So there you go. I hope that was helpful. I hope it clarified my process, and I plan to do a Mass Make March video because I've got a couple pieces that I want to put inside this journal that I had ideas for. And as always, thank you for watching and happy creating.